Welcome to the Uncharted 4 Lost Treasures DLC weapon guide. In this video we are reviewing each weapon inside the Lost Treasures DLC, giving stats taken from the game and also stats we've calculated ourselves. We'll also compare these weapons with the other weapons in its respective class, hopefully then allowing you to choose which one best suit your playstyle. Overall, I feel as if every weapon in this DLC is very useful, especially compared to some of the other weapons in the game, and I'd go so far to say some of them are actually quite overpowered. There's no need to pay for anything in this DLC. As long as you can grind relics, you can actually unlock everything inside this DLC, which is absolutely fantastic, and I recommend trying your very best to unlock everything.
I'll pound you all into ash. You like that?
The Enforcer sidearm is very similar to the Angus 9mm and also the Para 45. Practically, it's a hybrid between both of the weapons. It's worth 1 loadout point, whereas the Para 45 is worth 2, and the 9mm is worth 0. So there's a definite balance between both of those two weapons. Controlling the 9mm's weird recoil at longer ranges is quite difficult for some players, and that's where the Enforcer comes in. The damage is exactly the same as a 9mm, the accuracy is much better than 9mm but not as good as the Para 45, and I still think the Para 45 is probably the best sidearm in this game so far. I feel as if the Enforcer was an unnecessary addition to the game. We do have already 2 semi-automatic sidearms in the game along with a revolver. I'm not saying it's a bad weapon, but I'm just saying it's very similar to the other guns that are already available. In terms of the recoil is much better than the 9mm, it's just a straight vertical recoil, whereas with the 9mm it does have horizontal sway as well, so the recoil pattern is similar to the Para 45. I wouldn't really recommend the Enforcer to anyone. The only time I'd recommend this is if you feel as if your Para 45 is taking up too many loadout points and you want to add in a better primary weapon, or you want to add a sidekick to your loadout or something like that, and you need to free up some space, then I would then downgrade to the Enforcer. Instead of trying to add on modifications to the 9mm, which is a no-go in my opinion, I'd recommend upgrading to the Enforcer for an extra loadout point, and you'll get a better all-round weapon instead. Comparing this to the other 2 semi-automatic sidearms in the game, it's not a bad weapon, but the other ones have other benefits to them depending on how you play. Especially the Para 45, which is probably, in my opinion, the best weapon in this entire game. The RECOIL is my new favourite sidearm in the Uncharted 4 multiplayer, and is the only other weapon along with the Enforcer that can actually compete with the Para 45. It comes in at 2 loadout points and the damage model is fantastic, and it's the reason why I like this gun. The fire rate is not quite as fast as something like the Enforcer, the 9mm or the Para 45, but it's still not as slow as the Jackal. Looking into the future, I can see a lot more skilled players opting for the RECOIL over the Para 45 just because of its damage model. So the damage model is currently sitting at 4 body shots and 2 headshots. That's right, that's a sidearm, and this is only worth 2 loadout points. Like I said, this is a direct competitor to even some primary weapons in the game. The recoil of this gun is fairly reasonable and can definitely be used at all ranges. It's not difficult to try and use it at long range as well. Because the magazine of the base gun is so high and the damage once again is also quite high, the BLINDFIRE of this weapon is also fantastic. So there's nothing that RECOIL can't do. Do I think it's overpowered at the moment? Yes. What would actually balance this weapon out? Well, the only 2 things I can think of at the moment is to either reduce the rate of fire very slightly, not too much because then it'll be unusable, or reduce the magazine size by a maximum of 4 bullets. Depending on how Naughty Dog want to balance this weapon is very important. By reducing the magazine size, it means people need to use their bullets more sparingly. Reducing the rate of fire will be something that will be difficult to get right. I don't want the rate of fire to be too low that is similar to the Jackal revolver, because this is not a revolver. And it brings a new playstyle to this multiplayer that I quite enjoy. And I wouldn't like to render this weapon completely useless. And it also does have a really good reload time of 1.5 seconds, so that matches in with any other semi-automatic gun in the game. The Arrowhead is the first assault rifle you unlock in this DLC and is another pretty cool weapon. Now that the Arrowhead is being released, I feel as if this was what the Copperhead was meant to be. So this has two scoped in modes much like the FAL and the Metler, and this is fully automatic just like the Copperhead. I can see a lot of people moving away from the Copperhead because it only has the longer range scope and not a closer scope. People may also move over from the AK-47 and the HS-39 as well. The damage model is not too different from the AK-47, the recoil is much more manageable, and also that extra scope means any beginning players who don't really feel comfortable getting longer range kills can actually get longer range kills now much easier with that extra scope. Unless you have a lot of Uncharted points or you have the triple pack DLC, it will take quite some time to unlock this weapon, instead of obviously the AK-47 being the very first weapon you unlock. However, I still recommend this very much to beginners. When scoped in, I definitely recommend burst firing this weapon. If you are a beginner and you're finding it difficult to control the recoil, it shouldn't be too difficult because the recoil is actually not too bad. But if you are finding it difficult, burst fire this weapon, it will get you much easier kills and you don't need to worry too much about the recoil itself. In terms of blind fire accuracy, it is fully automatic, so it is very usable. Not as good as the submachine guns, however. The base magazine size on this gun is actually pretty fantastic compared to things like the AK-47 and the HS-39. You're definitely more than able to take on 3 enemies with this gun and do perfectly fine without having to reload at all. You shouldn't have a problem going head to head with any other primary weapon in the game. At close range I would recommend staying away from submachine guns. This has a 2.5 second reload time, now not the fastest in the game but definitely comparable to other primary weapons. The fire rate is not quite as fast as the HS-39, it's basically between the Copperhead and the AK-47. The P90's quickly become my favourite primary weapon in the Uncharted 4 multiplayer. I'm not too sure if Naughty Dog has classified this weapon yet, whether it's an assault rifle or a submachine gun, but in my opinion, I would say it's a submachine gun. Prior to the P90's release, I couldn't find a weapon that perfectly suited my playstyle, but now that the P90 has released, I'm really loving this gun. Now this is not a perfect gun in any shape or form, it just suits the way I play the game. If you're a person that likes to get in on the action, kill as many enemies as possible, get out, reload and then quickly go back in again, then this is the perfect weapon for you. The damage isn't anything special on this gun, as you'd imagine. The submachine guns have a high rate of fire and a low damage model. But the difference with this submachine gun is that it has the highest possible rate of fire in the game. With that you also get the downfall of a very high recoil. Overall, this weapon's only good at close to medium range. It's not really good at long range kills unless you burst fire, but even then it's still quite difficult to do so because the damage is so low, so even burst firing is not really going to help you out at all. Being as close as possible with your enemies is definitely the best way to use this gun. The base magazine size on the P90 is quite large and is one of the reasons why I quite like this gun. The reload time, however, is quite long at 3 seconds. The video stats will show 2.5 seconds, but that's incorrect. The blind fire accuracy on the P90 is fantastic as it is a submachine gun and it has a very high rate of fire. The P90 along with other submachine guns in this game are quickly becoming very popular because they have a higher strafe speed. Most experienced players are able to control the recoil, along with knowing that most gun battles happen at medium to close range and it's only very few battles that happen at long range. Pairing the P90 with a recoil modification would probably make it extremely useful. Also, the P90 has a pretty cool reload animation compared to the other weapons, which is the same bore and all magazine, so what's not to like?
Feel that one? And they're out!
The Harbinger Sniper rifle is the only heavy weapon in this DLC. This is definitely the most useless weapon in terms of the whole DLC. The heavy weapons are becoming more and more obsolete as more weapons actually release. This sniper rifle doesn't bring anything new that the primary weapon sniper rifles don't already have. It doesn't have a higher fire rate than the M14, and it doesn't even do more damage than the LDR. This is a semi-automatic sniper rifle similar to the M14. It does a 2-hit body shot kill and a 1-hit headshot kill. What I would do to make this a more useful gun and a more diverse gun compared to the other weapons that already exist in the game, make it a 1-hit kill regardless of whether it's a body shot or a headshot, and also give it a faster fire rate. And then to balance this out, increase how much it costs in terms of in-game cash. Naughty Dog need to realise that the heavy weapons are meant to be more powerful than the primary and secondary weapons in the game. And also this is a sniper rifle, so it still involves much more skill to get your kill.
You're grounded. That was painful. I'm not a fool. Target down.
While I'll leave you with a short clip with the Path of Indra Mystical, we do have a video coming out reviewing the Mystical itself. We also want to hear your opinion on the Lost Treasure DLC weapons. Have you enjoyed the weapons? Which one's your favourite? Which one do you think's the best? After the Path of Indra Mystical, we don't have any more videos planned until the next DLC comes out. We were asked about a booster guide, so if you do want to see that, get this video and the Path of Indra Mystical video up to 30 likes and we'll consider making the booster guide as well. For more Uncharted 4 multiplayer content, you can go over to our live streaming channel. Please follow us on Twitter for more behind the scenes action, and thanks for watching.